Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dennis Talbot. We have with us Bill Algie and Alan Tate, as usual. This is episode 156. Can you believe that? We're getting up there.
156, and we have 12 listeners and 30.
We're working on it. I think it may be double that, Bill. If you really don't shoot ourselves short. Anyway, we have a great guest on here a little bit later. We've got here's a little hint. This person was on season 10 in 2011. He finished 4th in American Idol. And he might be touring with a big band from the 80s right now. But anyway, we'll let you sit on that for a little bit.
Well, I'm just going to totally fucking ruin this for you, dude. They've already seen the show title.
Oh, okay. So,
oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't even take that out, did I?
Oh, shit.
So anyway, we got James Durbin coming on here in just a little bit, and kind of funny. His whenever we set this up, he sent me a letter. I said, I need your. Well, I can't tell you that. I'm not gonna give that out. So anyway, it's a funny story. Maybe he'll bring it up. But anyway, okay. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about. There's been a lot of crap happening in the rock world in the last week or so. So I don't even know where to start. I'll just gonna bring it up one here. They brought the trailer out yesterday for The Dirt. What are you guys thinking about that? Did you watch the whole trailer?
I can tell you exactly what I think.
Okay.
You want to go, Alan? You go. You started to talk, and I didn't. Go ahead. 'Cause I know you won't talk during the interview. So
all I was going to say is Motley Crue is one of my favorite bands. Right. Nikki Sixx is a fucking douchebag. I love you, Nikki Sixx, but you're a fucking douchebag. And I can't wait to see the movie. And Nikki, you are wrong. Kiss did not steal from you. Kiss and Alice Cooper and Motley Crue and Marilyn Manson all stole from Arthur Brown. So, end of episode.
Exactly.
Shut your pie hole.
Shut all your fucking pie holes.
I was just going to send out a little, I posted on our Facebook page today that just a reminder that Kiss has done 2 movies.
Right.
And a Scooby-Doo cartoon, so suck it.
Well, you know what, though? Nikki Sixx is basically
trying to promote a movie.
He's using a page of the Gene Simmons book.
Wait a minute, that's copying out of Gene Simmons.
But I'm saying any promotion, anytime you get your name in the news, it's good.
Publicity is good publicity.
Exactly.
He's getting some hate mail too. There's getting a lot of hate mail.
And if there wouldn't have been any movie coming out or
that's
some new
how he knows his media campaign was successful.
Exactly. Yes. He's just laughing all the way to the bank. No, I'm really looking forward to this. I read this book. This is kind of funny.
I couldn't read it.
This book has been around forever. And how long it's been around?
It's been out for about 15 years, I think.
My son, who is 24, when I used to take him to Books A Million for his Yu-Gi-Oh battles, I would go grab the book off the shelf and I'd go sit in the chair while he battled Yu-Gi-Oh, and I would read The Dirt. And then I'd put it up, and then I'd come back next week, and he'd play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'd start where I left. I read the whole book for free. Did
you dog ear the pages?
No, I did. I stopped.
They didn't sell any of the books, so you could go back every week and get the same book.
I probably still could go get it. It's probably still there if the store was there. No, actually, I would read to a certain chapter and I'd remember where I was at, and I did. So I read it. The book was really good, and the trailer that I watched, the full trailer. I saw the quickie the other day when they sent it out, but they had a full, the full
trailer was released today, and
it was actually, it's pretty close to the. There's no reason to go away from the book. It's just go with it. But supposedly now, I don't know if it's one of Nicky's little things, but he said it's going to be 4 hours long. Now, will it?
According to the trailer, it's 1 hour and 47 minutes.
Well, then he's a liar then. Okay.
Nikki Six
Well,
tell a lie.
That has
Did
that
he-
has
how
been
many
determined.
times did he die of an overdose?
17, something like that.
So
Still
does
love
anybody
you,
want to
Nikki.
bet how many shots of a buffet there are?
I don't know.
Anytime there's a picture of Vince, it's got to be near a buffet.
I know whenever
Or
they were,
McDonald's.
they were on site that day, the catering truck was empty. They're like, going, Vince is here. Go get some more food.
Hey, Vince Neil,
So
you want
anyway.
to come on the show?
Right. I don't know if I got enough food. Anyway.
I ate dinner. I don't know if I have enough.
So anyway, so get that out of the way, Motley Crue. The Queen disc came out this week. I grabbed a hold of it, and
Me too.
I got the copy with all the extras and the Blu-ray and the 4K and the quick download or whatever, digital download, which I don't ever use. I don't know why I get those. The extras are really good.
It comes for free in the video.
I do like
Right.
all the extras are really cool. I did not watch the unreleased stuff that they did of the concert from Live Aid, but I've seen Live Aid a million times, so it's no big deal to me. But
You know,
Oh, you didn't watch their
I have
version?
never seen hardly any of the Live Aid footage at all.
wow, well, I just gave you the disc, so
Oh, I'll be watching it. It might
There's
take
a
me
lot-
6 months to watch it. All
there's a
10 hours.
lot. There's a lot of good stuff on there. I mean,
I bet
there's
there
some
is.
crap, but there's some really good. There's one actually on there. When we're getting off the subject, but it is Sting, and who's the guy who plays Marcellus?
Winston Marcellus,
Oh, the guy used to be on. He plays like a
Kenny G.
no, not Kenny G. Black dude. He plays like a. Is this his name Marcellus?
Isn't it Winston Marcellus?
Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, they do a thing of Roxanne, just those two, and it's really good. I mean, it's one of those just kind of impromptu things. There's a lot of good nuggets on that disc of just oddball stuff. Yeah, I mean, there are other little gems of things that they put together and stuff. So, and there's some crap too. But
And Jimmy's. Are there Jimmy's on there?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But no. So anyway, so that came out this week. What else was I was going to talk about? You guys
So you didn't watch. Wait a minute. Go back to that. So you didn't watch the movie band do the 20 minutes that they did at Live Aid?
No, I did not watch that.
Oh,
yet.
you need to watch that. It's pretty good.
I will. Like I
It's
said,
pretty cool. Yeah.
Right. I did watch the other two. The one about him, Raimi becoming Freddy. I watched that one, and then I watched the other one. What Queen? What the other one was? Just the whole, just basic.
Yeah. You gotta watch the one where how they made the audience.
Oh, I did. I saw that.
That's pretty cool.
That is
My
that
God, it's really
actually
cool.
is really interesting how they kind of went. How they took people not only in the audience, but they got them standing, they got them doing this, and that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty cool. It's
It is.
amazing what they can do.
Oh, it is crazy. Amazing what they could do with sound too at a concert, isn't it?
Man, some bands use these riser things that actually. Never mind. Forget.
So real quick, Bill, I got a question for you. You said you're going to be on this media blackout, and then you said
I am. I have not watched anything.
You sent us a text yesterday. Remember last night we got that text out, and you
What did it say?
you were ranting about Kiss.
No, it was about Gene's makeup.
You said something about not only are they lip syncing now, they don't spend time putting on their makeup right. So
Yeah, that's all I said.
He's been doing that thin.
Speaking of Gene's makeup, did you guys see what Joe Polo posted on the Podcast Rock City Facebook? There was a shot of Gene's face on the screen, and the way it hit the top of the screen hit the forehead.
Right.
The white in his makeup looks like a palm tree. It's hilarious. Go to the Podcast Rock City Facebook page and check that out. It's hilarious.
I'll have to check that out. No, he's been
I
doing
haven't
that
watched, I
thinner.
haven't watched any video.
He's been doing that thinner thing for a while
No,
now.
it's just ridiculous.
But it's quick.
Quit being so damn lazy.
I know. Well, he's old and he's tired of putting on the makeup.
I can gripe.
He's spending more time. He has some more time to count the cash that they're making on this tour.
They're making some cash, boys. Everybody kept saying
No,
nobody's going to buy a ticket. It's not
they're
going to
gonna
sell. It looks pretty full to me.
Here's my thing: is that if they do their 3-year plan, wait till this first run goes through, and if they try to come back through again, that's when the
That's
sales,
why I'm going now.
they'll sound the same, So that's when I'm going to catch me a. That's why I'm going to catch me a ticket. I'm really concerned though about going to that one up in Indianapolis that we're in. I wonder what outside, if that's going to look good. You know what I'm saying? That stage in that.
They won't have that stage there. I don't know. I don't think you can do that stage in a shed.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to have to go see it somewhere in a arena so I can see that.
So you're going to go twice now, Mister?
Well,
I'm not going at all.
Well, I got
It's busting your balls.
I'm going to hang out with you. We're going to tailgate.
Yeah, we are all day. It's going to have fun. We're going to have fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. Actually,
we're gonna have a bunch of people. Brian's going to be up there, and
did I tell you I got another ticket? I got one for Kelly. Kelly's going.
Oh God dang!
It's on dragging her along. I got a DD though.
Yeah, great.
No,
I'm dragging Alex along.
No, it got to the point where I still could get tickets for reasonable, and I had mentioned something about it, and she said, I might want to see him one more time, and I was like, you know what? So I surprised her and got her a ticket. So,
and then she was like,
no, because she said if there's something comes up, I can use it. I said I can get rid of it. If she's got something that she needs to do, or she decides she doesn't want to go, I'll take Rodney, or I'll take you, or we'll take somebody. I don't give a shit. I can get rid of a ticket. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, you guys can stay here if you want to, unless you want to drive all the way back.
Yeah, we'll figure out something. Yeah, that's.
Oh, Lisa said no. She's hollering from upstairs.
No,
I don't think so.
I just got that room.
It's Kelly and Dennis, not just Dennis. Oh, Kelly can, but Dennis can't.
I can pass out in the car. Hey, you know what? It'll be in August. I'll bring a tent. I'll pitch a tent.
You don't want to sleep in a tent in Indianapolis in August. You're gonna freaking die.
I know. It's the same as in Evansville. But anyway, so yeah, that's the plan on that. So anything else going on that we can think of that? I know there was a
lot of stuff to talk about.
I know. Well, and then Queen's going to be on.
Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie are going on tour together,
Yes.
and they're coming to Evansville.
Unbelievable as it seems.
Yeah.
I'm still debating. I'm kind of. We talked about that. I like to see John 5. And
I
like
don't
to see.
know if John 5 is going to be with either one of them.
Oh, really?
Well, John
he's
5.
doing his own.
John
He's doing
5
his own.
was with Rob Zombie.
Right.
But do you think John 5 is going to be with Rob Zombie if he's going to have to be around Marilyn Manson?
No, actually, he is going on tour by himself. He has his own tour this summer. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about it. A friend of mine at works who brought that up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that would be cool.
No,
But
when I
then I'm
saw
like-
Rob Zombie in Rocklahoma a few years back, John 5 was with him. So
See, the problem with Marilyn Manson, it's a crapshoot. You're going to get good Marilyn, or you're going to get fucked up Marilyn. He kind of has some bad. He's had some bad nights, And,
That'd be like if I could go for $20, I would go.
Yeah,
I would not
what I'm
pay
gonna do.
21.
I'll get a no speaker kind of last minute, like that day of. Go down there and see if they'll just give me a cheap ticket.
Just give me a cheap ticket, otherwise, nah.
Because
I do want to go see. So, the Sammy Hagar Full Circle. Is it Full Circle? Is that the band?
Yeah, I think.
So his band is coming out with Night Ranger opening. So I'm gonna go. I might go to that. I think that's like May 23rd in Indy. Yeah, it should be a good show.
Cool
Is that in Indy then?
Yeah, it's at the lawn. So it's at the small venue. Yeah,
I like that place. White River.
Yeah, Right River State
Yeah,
Park.
I love that place. That's a cool venue.
Yep. So I might. It depends on what day that is. It's like May 23rd. And I don't know if that's Carb Day. I'm supposed to be going to see Foreigner at.
Yeah, that's right.
At the track. So
yeah.
With some buddies. So I don't know. But I would go to that for sure. I like to see Night Ranger again. They were really good when I saw them in Indy last time. They were really, really good. I'm just waiting for some. I haven't seen anything like. I haven't seen much come into Indy this summer that's like I need to get tickets for. Like this time last year, I think I had like tickets for 5 or 6 shows, and I got one.
Well, my first show this year is coming up in March. We just got our motel for in Memphis for Amos Lee. We're gonna go down for that.
Oh, you've never seen him before, right?
How many times have you seen him now?
I think 4 times. And
seen him as many times as you've seen Kiss now? Because that's kind of weird, dude.
It's 4, but I still can't. I cannot name one song. I don't know something about what is it. I don't even know the songs. I know it when I hear it, but I do not listen to it at all. It's like I told you before. It's worth going. I mean, it's entertaining, but Kelly likes it, so that's why I go.
That's good.
And we're actually going with some friends, huh?
Alan, you got any shout outs, man?
Shout outs from Alan. Or not.
David Cathy, Bill Elam, Brian Harris, Bo from Hairnet Radio, and there are a bunch more, but I was really busy today, and it totally slipped my mind to look that up. So those are the ones that I know off the top of my head. Yeah. Oh, yeah, shout out for Bo from Hairnet Radio. I posted on our Facebook page today and on our Twitter. He did a 5.5-minute video talking about Tommy Paris's new album and talking about Tommy Paris and the Triple Threat. The Triple Threat being the three of us idiots.
That gave us a lot of love. So
that was a lot of love, and we really appreciate it.
Yep. That's awesome.
The only other thing that I have that I can think of is Ozzy Osbourne had been in the hospital, but he is out of the hospital now, but he has canceled his Australian tour.
I saw that.
Really?
Yeah. Today. Today.
That was announced earlier today.
Yeah.
Is he postponing it, or is he just canceling?
As of right now, all I know is it ain't happening.
Oh wow!
So I didn't.
Well, he is like 150 years old.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is he's the same age as my dad. Wow. You know, I mean, they're only a couple of months in age difference.
Wow. How old is he? He's 70 what? Oh, 70? Hell, he's not as old as my dad. My dad's just 2 years older than that.
He would be 70.
Cool. Hey, real quick, too, I got another one more little quick thing. I saw it today, and I thought it was the most interesting little thing. These 5 high school students in 1964 went to see the Beatles. They skipped out of school and went to see the Beatles. Well, they couldn't get in the concert, but for some reason or somehow going there or whatever, Ringo Starr pulled up next to them, took a picture of them in their car, and drove off. So they were telling their friends forever that this happened, and everybody's like, oh, you're full of shit. Nobody ever believed that this happened. Ringo just put out a book this year. It's been 50 years later, and he put that picture in the book.
Oh, that is cool.
And these people,
years, dude.
55 years. And these same 5 people went to this, got a similar car, and kind of did one of those before and after photos. So they're all, but it's one of those things where I would have been on the phone going, you remember when you called me a lying asshole? Fuck you. I mean, that's a great story. I mean, here he puts this book out and throws this photo in that he took of these kids.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a great story. That's a good rock and roll story.
That's awesome.
So anyway, so I guess you want to get on to Mr. Durbin, Mr. James Durbin. Let's go. All right. So anyway, we're here with Mr. James Durbin. We're glad to have you on today. What's up?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. We were trying to do Skype tonight, but the computer gods were not in our favor tonight, so we got you via phone. And maybe, like I said, the next time we'll have you on video. But anyway, you are a busy man. I tried to get a hold of you, and you've been doing a little touring with a band we know.
Yeah, I've been touring for the past 2 years with Quiet Riot.
Awesome. So this last run, when you were gone all last week, where all were you at this point?
Well, actually, this last week I was actually doing a solo acoustic tour.
Okay.
Playing songs from my 4 solo albums over the past 7 years, and as well as a bunch of covers. And I hit up South Bend, Indiana, Chesterfield, Michigan, Akron, Ohio, and Newport, Kentucky. Had a lot of fans come out, a lot of VIP tickets, VIP meet and greets done, and a lot of people drove longer than I drove to be at these shows, which is very humbling.
Well, we wish we'd have known that, because we were actually in actually Bill is in Columbus, Indiana, and Alan and I are in Evansville, Newburgh area of southern Indiana, so we could have probably hit a couple of shows.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
We're always a day late and a dollar short, man. It's just the way it works.
I feel
We were
ya.
just
Hey,
in your town last week. Son of a bitch.
And actually, I was on vacation here, 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks
And
ago.
I was in 3 weeks ago, and I was in Santa Cruz, your hometown.
Oh, lucky boy. What were you
Yep,
doing out there?
We in your house.
Yeah, doing a little pre-work on the show. No, we went. Actually, we were out there for a week. We spent 4 days in actually Napa, that area up
Nice.
there. But we flew into Sacramento and drove to Santa Cruz the first night. And my parents my dad has cousins that live in Santa Cruz. We visited with them, and then went down, of course, and then saw San Simeon, and then back up, and then went to Alcatraz, and then went to up to Napa, and then flew back home to Indiana. But Santa Cruz, beautiful area.
Yes, one in a million.
It's nice. It's super nice. So let's start with that. I mean, like I said, I think it'd be kind of interesting just kind of go with you as far as, all right, you were in Santa Cruz growing up. What did you listen to back then?
I grew up. I was born '89. My mom, single mom, raising 3 kids by herself. I was the youngest, and she had this old beat up Volvo we called the Brown Bomb, and she would always play Motown. So I grew up listening to a lot of Motown. I have 2 older sisters, so they listen to a lot of pop radio. So I grew up listening to Motown, then was influenced by Michael Jackson and all the boy bands at the time. And it's you gotta remember these boy bands. I mean, when you listen back to some of this music, it's like the subject matter. Sure, they were aiming for people's wallets, aiming for the kids' ears. But when you listen back to the music, they always had the most phenomenal studio session musicians. I mean, it's the Motown groove. It's all about that hook, So that's really where what I grew up listening to. It wasn't until about high school that I met a friend named Chris, and he turned me on to heavy metal, and then we went from there.
So your first band that whenever you were introduced to heavy metal, who was your first band, your go-to band? It's like, holy shit. I mean,
let's see. The first CDs that he gave me. Well, first he gave me a Green Day CD, and I was like, yeah, well that's fine. Which I love Green Day to this day. And then he gave me a Motorhead greatest hits CD, and then I just kind of took it from there. Yeah, exactly. Amen. And I just kind of took it from there and started, going down the rabbit hole. So got my Led Zeppelin, my Dio, my coincidentally Quiet Riot, Scorpions, Queen, Journey, Foreigner. It keeps going down, further down till you get to like obscure kind of stuff like a Steel Heart. and I was very much influenced by Steel Heart. Actually, I'd spend hours in front of the computer trying to sing like Mike Matijevic there, and at a certain point I got there. I probably woke a few neighbors and woke a few dogs, but it's definitely my formative years.
So what was the scene in Santa Cruz at that point? I mean, whenever you were discovering this music and stuff, were there bands playing that type of music there? Or was it something that you had to get, from watching television or from the internet, I guess with the internet? I'm trying to think what that would have been. You would have been in that time. Internet would have been going.
Yeah. I mean, it was right around that time when I was in high school, there was the wave of emo bands. And so I was very, very much into bands like Him and My Chemical Romance and 30 Seconds to Mars. And so you got this newer age of, it's a different kind of hair, hard rock, hair in the eyes. The hair wasn't teased back.
Sure.
And there's always been a great music scene in Santa Cruz. And like as far back in the 60s, and my dad was a very influential bass player and in the Santa Cruz area, and people would come from all over the place to hear him play and to watch him play. And he had a very Jaco Pastorius kind of a vibe to him. And but Neil Young played there and had some lost summers in Santa Cruz with the Ducks, and you got bands like Snail and Carlos Santana spent time there. A bunch of the Doobie Brothers lived there, and there's always been this big music scene there. And so when I was growing up, there was a band called Dirty Penny. There was a band called Archer, Ambivalence, Trigger Renegade. Trigger Renegade was cool. I mean, they were all cool. And I wasn't as much influenced by their music, but more for what they stood for. And they were kind of like hipster alternative rock before that was ever even a thing. I remember the singer would walk around Santa Cruz with a gun holster, like a vintage cowboy holster, and he'd keep his gold spray painted microphone in it just at all times.
That's awesome. just like walking around town, just in case he's gonna bust out a song. Like,
yeah, exactly. Just full blown
awesome.
commitment to his gimmick. It's like these it's like pro wrestlers from the '80s. It's like Greg the Hammer Valentine or the Honky Tonk Man. They are committed to that gimmick for life. And he was, but I was very much influenced by Dirty Penny, and they had they started off as a Poison tribute band. They called themselves Antidote, and then they got sent a cease and desist order, and they sent a contest out to their fans via MySpace to rename the band, and somebody said Dirty Penny, which is porn slang for asshole, and
that's going our hashtag.
That is.
Yes, and they ran with it. They ran with it for a while, and I eventually got their old bass player to join my band, my first touring lineup post American Idol, and as well as the lead guitar player from Archer, who's now Archer Nation, and there was just such a great music scene there, and I joined a couple bands and started a couple bands. I was in Leviathan, which was a melodic theatrical metal, kind of like a Queensryche meets Dio. And that was with a bunch of 15-year-old Guitar Hero whiz kids. And listening back, there's a very progressive nature to it. There was a lot of prog. Those kids were very much into prog, but they were all rich, and I was the poor kid from the ghetto. So it was a different, it was a strange dynamic, definitely looking back on it. And then after that, in the later years, I joined a band called Whatever Fits, and that didn't really go anywhere, and that disbanded. And then I started a band called Hollywood Scars, and that kind of lasted right up until Idol. And we followed in the footsteps of Dirty Penny and kind of did the teased hair and the New York Dolls kind of a thing. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I loved playing venues in Santa Cruz and dreaming. It's you got to get out there. If you ever want to do anything, the only thing you have to do is to get out there and suck. You have to suck. You have to start somewhere, and most importantly, you have to suck, and you have to enjoy it. That's like that's the big thing. You suck, and you be like, well, yeah, we suck, but are we having fun? Like, yeah, we're having fun. Let's keep going. And then, sooner or later, you start to not suck so much.
That is a good way to look at it too, because like I said, I've played in bands. All my, I work for Toyota, but I played in bands as a side thing forever, and I've had my suck nights and suck. The thing is, though, we had fun. What it is, I'm not. It
Exactly.
was like you said, you're not gonna. You have to suck a lot to finally get somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, easy. Easy.
Yeah, that didn't come out very good.
No. That's what she said. Hey.
Yeah. Well, that's how some people get there.
He fits right in.
You have to suck at playing music to get somewhere.
Yes.
Sometimes. There you
go. Now you clarified it. That's good.
So I'm waiting because I've sucked really bad on stage a lot of times at music. That my days should be here.
Why do you feel like you need to quantify it? You're like qualifying that. You're like, at music
on stage. Yeah.
Well, I just
on stage.
Stage show.
with a guitar in my hand. You know what I'm saying?
It's just getting worse.
Wow, no hands. Yeah.
I'm going to
It's
stop
getting
this.
worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop.
Well, let's segue into talking about American Idol since you brought that up. What was the experience like auditioning for American Idol, and how was your experience overall participating in that?
I mean, it was great. I auditioned once in 2008 at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And I didn't make it past the first round. I sang, what did I sing? I sang Faithfully by Journey. And then they asked to hear another song, and I sang the last song I heard, which was another Journey song. So they just thought I was like, a kid from a Journey tribute band or something. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants that, just too much of that, And I didn't make it past the first round, and that was an interesting weekend too, because that same weekend I got hired to be a vocalist a demo vocalist in a instructional video called The Art and Science of Sound Recording, and I got to work with Alan Parsons.
Wow,
that is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I didn't make it into American Idol that weekend. It was the same weekend. It was very strange. And
you ended up better actually for that one. That's cool.
I guess so. Yeah. And so I was kind of down on it, and then a few years later, of course, 2 years later, that was season 8, and then I was on season 10. I was working as a delivery driver for Domino's Pizza in Santa Cruz, part time, and I had seen that American Idol was coming back to San Francisco. This time they were going to be at AT&T Park, where the Giants play. And so I put it on the calendar and requested for the days off to audition. And my bosses said no. they wouldn't grant me the days off to audition. So I pretty much just kind of put it out of my mind, like, all right, well, this isn't meant to be. This probably won't happen. Maybe I'll call in sick, tell them I shit the bed and can't come into work and escape to San Fran for the weekend. And then lo and behold, like 3 days before the audition day, the owners call everybody into the back kitchen, and people that weren't even supposed to be there that day that weren't working, and they said, yeah, we're broke. We've been running our business on credit cards, and we're fleeing the state basically, and you're all out of a job come Monday, and the audition was on Monday, and at least the first day to line up to get a wristband to come back 2 days later to audition. And so I was like, oh my God, this is that moment, where it's like, this is real. This could actually happen. And that season was Simon Cowell's first season away from the show. So they had just announced that Steven Tyler, Jennifer Lopez, and Randy Jackson were the judges. And I thought, well, shit, if Steven Tyler's a judge with, the way that I sing and my style and everything, like this could be much better for me. There could be a bigger chance for me. And so my wife and I, we drove up to San Francisco early the night before and went and waited out in the cold in line and kind of knew what to expect. And there was a cattle call audition. And so they wrangle up everybody into this crazy twisting long line out in the freezing cold, starting at like 3 or 4 a.m. And we waited for probably 8 hours to get a wristband that day, and then we drove all the way back to Santa Cruz just with the wristband. You have to wrap that wristband. If anything happens to it, or it's tampered with, or you take it off, or it looks like it's been messed with, they won't allow you back in line. That's your position in line for the actual audition day. And so when it came time for the audition day, we drove back to San Francisco, waited in line again to get let into AT&T Park, and then we're waiting in the stands. And on this day there was 17,500 people.
Wow.
Under the age of 20, like from 27 to 15 or 15 to 27, auditioning, and their parents and their support systems and whatever. And finally came time for my audition, and I go down. They've got probably 10 portable tents set up, and at each tent is a table. At each table is at least 2 executive producers or other assistant producers, people that work on the show. And they're sitting there stone cold faced, and you line up with about 4 other people, and you step forward, you say what your name is, and you sing. They might stop you after 5 seconds. They might stop you after 15 seconds. And that's it. So I stepped forward and I sang the opening to, what did I sing? I sang the opening to Who's Lovin' You by the Jackson 5. And in the original key, as Michael did it when he was 9. And they liked that. And so they went down the line, and there was down to me and one other guy. They sent the other people home at our particular tent, and they asked me to sing something else. And basically I thought, like, man, this is going to be like my last chance to sing. I better do something good. So I sang You Shook Me by Muddy Waters, but Led Zeppelin's version. And I made sure to rush the singy part so I could get to the big scream. And once I got to that scream, I held that sumbitch out as long and as heavy as I could, put a little taste of vibrato at the end of that. And I could feel, when you feel like people are looking at you, I felt eyes turning and heads turning. And I don't know if I was manifesting it or I was just imagining it. Like, this is my freaking moment. I'm going to own this thing and make them have no choice but to put me through. And I opened my eyes after that scream, and sure enough, everybody's heads were around me. And the dude next to me, his name was Bruce, he looked at me. He just turned. He was just like, damn. And I looked over in the crowd in the stands, and I could see my she was my fiance at the time, Heidi, and she's my wife now, and been together almost 11 years this year. And she was up there, and I just saw her, like, her eyes light up, like, whoa. And I could see everybody else in the stands, like, what the hell is that? And sure enough, they gave me the golden ticket. And I remember running around AT&T Park, the baseball field there on the the outfield. There's like a dirt track around the outfield, and I remember doing like freaking cartwheels, and at one point I started to do the moonwalk, and I got yelled at by somebody there for kicking up dust onto the field and dirt, and then at the end there I saw Ryan Seacrest, and that was like the first famous person I'd seen other than like former WWE stars at like independent wrestling shows and stuff. But he's like, man, hey, how does it feel? You're on, you made it through this, this round or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, Seacrest out, man, cool. And it was just the stupidest thing to say, and kept going. So that was that. And it was just one crazy experience after the next. I got to work with Bob Babbitt of the Funk Brothers, and Stevie Wonder and Sheryl Crow, and the biggest pop music producers of this decade, of this millennia, all these biggest artists of these days, the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's, and got to work with all their producers, and Don Was, who's like the musical director on every single TV show, and produces John Mayer albums and Grateful Dead and Paul McCartney, and I got to record with him, and just Zakk Wylde and Judas Priest, and just the list just is crazy, just the influence and the experience in such a short amount of time. It really was crazy. I mean, I got a big head and a false sense of entitlement from being on the show that took me a while to lose that. You've got to realize that, like, all that stuff isn't real. It's put on. It's manufactured, and you are basically you're forced to believe that everything that's happening around you is real, and that there's this you've got to give you this expectation that that's the way that it's going to keep going. But what you don't realize is once the show's over, that stuff's over too. Like, it's up to you to work that. You've got to work that angle. If that's the lifestyle you want to keep living in, getting the free watches and the sunglasses and the suits and the clothing and, the red carpets and the this and that, then that's fine and dandy and all, but you've got to work for that yourself and try to get those things keep happening.
Did you notice, like, say, when you got down to your, whenever it's like there's 20 of them, it's a different story. But when you're down, like you were number 4, you get down to your top 10. Did you think that that the producers were coddling people more than others? You know what I'm saying? As far as I've noticed as watching the show, I've watched it every year, and I remember watching it. I voted for you when you were on there. Matter of fact, because I was like, on a rocker, dude. Of course, I'm going to vote for you. But
thank you.
The whole thing was, though, you could see like their backgrounds and their stuff. I mean, did you get to pick the way you looked on stage, or did they? You know what I'm saying? Some of them are just like blown out back views and all this stuff, and
right.
I just sometimes I think the producers push that on certain people more than others. Is what I'm getting to.
Exactly, and they do. They definitely do it on certain people more than others. I mean, if you don't have a clear vision of who you want to be as an artist, the way you want to be portrayed on TV, then they'll mold you. And for some people, it's great that they'll do that. Some people, they'll do it for the better. Some people, there's not much they can do, or they try to and it doesn't work, and they want you to be successful because they want to make money off of you, of course. I mean, they want good ratings. And so, when I would pick songs that were left of center and stranger songs, and I'd come out dressed differently and have a different sort of outlook on things, then that maybe worried them at first. Like when I said for the first performance show on the main stage, and I looked at the song list and I said, I'm going to do You've Got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest. It's on the list.
Right.
They said, the producers, what the hell is a Judas Priest, and why is it going to be on our show? I was like, you're British. You don't know the new wave of British heavy metal? What do you mean? It's your list. You guys made it. Like, how do you not know what this song is? And I stuck to it. And, it was kind of a struggle to get them to, like, we played it during rehearsal, and it just seemed so light. It wasn't, there wasn't enough distortion. It wasn't heavy enough. And I was like, no, you gotta, like, you see the gain knob. So we're gonna turn the gain. We're gonna turn the master volume. We're gonna hit this pedal here. You see this? This is a distortion pedal, and you're gonna punch that. You're gonna kick that thing. And so, sometimes it was like pulling teeth, trying to get it heavier and heavier and rawer and more powerful. But then I understood, as like when I was going to do something heavier, and they're like, well, you already did a heavy song last week. Like, it'd be more of an impact if you came out and did something completely different.
Sure.
If we had a string quartet and we had smoke and you wore a suit, and sat still. And so I realized, and I started to realize that, like, okay, the show is more about creating moments. And, they talk about your idol moment, your defining idol moment. And I tried to create as many of those as I could. I tried to create them every week. So, I was like, oh, we're doing Elton John week. Elton John's known for his pianos. I'm doing Saturday Nights All Right for Fighting. Like, would it be possible to set a piano on fire, or have like a dummy piano and like, rig it up with, the pyrotechnics to come out of the top or something? Imagine like I'm standing there playing a flaming piano. And so, we did that, and I was like, I would map out performances. Like, take that performance, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
We had these stairs that would come out from, they were on stage stairs that were going up to the balcony audience on top of the stage. And so I was like, all right, I want to start at the top of there with the camera facing toward the main audience where the main cameras are. And I want to start right there, like, hello, America, here I am, welcome to my house. And then I come down the stairs, I do a freaking David Lee Roth toe touch, and then I come down and I go over to the judges, and then I whip back around, and then I stand on the piano, and then I jump off the piano, and then I do a knee slide and a back bend, and then the piano, explodes. I'd figure out stuff like that. Or like I did Uprising by Muse. And I only did it because the lead singer of Muse happened to be backstage and talking to us. And I was like, dude, can I do one of your songs? Will you clear it? He's like, yeah, what do you want to do? Our new single is Uprising. You want to do that? And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I'd love to do that. And he was like, all right, you can do it, but only on, he said, you have to go up the octave on the last chorus, and I'll let you do it. If you do that, if you promise me you'll do that, then I'll let you do it and I'll clear it. And sure enough, I did. And I wanted to give it this, this steampunk thing. And I want to come out and I want to have, these guys dressed like soldiers, marching band soldiers. And I kind of got that's my childhood influence of My Chemical Romance. It's very much that Black Parade thing. And I brought that in, and we came in through the big elephant doors. And I was like, dude, does anybody ever use these doors? These are like so theatrical and cool looking, and really just tried to push the envelope of what could be done within the studio itself. All those different set pieces are there, and I really just wanted to utilize them as much as I could and just kind of make it my playground.
I'm really surprised I didn't realize that you would have that much creative freedom to be able to kind of drive your performance that way. I guess I thought that it was more producers had to kind of, like, to your point, Dennis, it was kind of like they had you kind of packaged and they were kind of moving you in a certain direction and kind of molding you. So that's really cool. I mean, I really had no idea. But I want to go back to something else. So Jennifer Lopez was on there when you were on there, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yes. Can you talk more about that? Because that's really all I care about.
Too bad. Oh, I wish you were on Skype tonight, because whenever he said that, Bill's head turns back to make sure his wife didn't hear him say that.
Yeah, and I'm on headphones too, so just,
the same reason I would ask you about or Haley Reinhart. How was it working with her? But, you were at that time, you were with your wife as a
I want to talk about J-Lo. No, I do really have a serious question about that. So
okay, go ahead.
That I'm interested in. So how did you feel like the corrective criticism that you received, was it really beneficial to you, or was it sometimes you just took it and went, what the hell ever, you guys don't really get it? Or was it I get what you're saying.
On Idol, I understand what you're saying. On Idol, it's different. Our season was it was a different season of Idol. You got to remember the 2 seasons before had like this. It was just strange. The season before us had it was Randy Jackson, Cara DioGuardi, Simon Cowell, and Ellen DeGeneres as the judges. And then our season, Simon's gone, and so it's really about the judges, and it's a good thing that, and I always take myself out of it when I talk about the talent and the level of talent on our season. It was just phenomenal. The just everybody was so individual and so phenomenal, and just masters of their craft. And it's just, I'm blessed to have gotten to be a part of that with all those people. And they're still killing it, and they're still doing something, and they're still making, they're using that as a catapult for, whatever it is that they're doing now. But as far as the judges go, I didn't really, I don't know. See, I I tried to perform at a certain level throughout the entire time, and I tried to keep a really good consistency up until toward the end, the last couple of weeks. And then emotionally I was wasted, and I just missed my fiance and our son, and it was just really tough. And so at that point I was just kind of over it. But the judges, just what they said never really stuck with me, because they never really gave me anything. There never really was any constructive criticism. It's just kind of like, Durbin's in it to win it. Durbin's doing this. Hey, you've got this. Hey, you've got that. Steven Tyler said, like, hey, don't go pop on me. Don't go too soft on me. And Jennifer was always very positive. And so I noticed some other people, they were always very hard on Haley. They were always very hard on Stefano, Naima, different folks, but toward the end, I think it was the week before I went home, Randy said, you've got to know it's yours to lose. He said, it's yours to lose. Right. And I had never heard that phrase before. I'd never heard that expression before. And it really messed up my head, and it messed up my way of thinking. If he had not told me that, I think that I could have gone farther, but it was a mental thing there. Like, he completely messed with my mental preparedness. And now I understand what he meant. And of course of course I lost, but but now also at the same time, I understand that the producers are in control. The votes count. The votes matter. They absolutely do. Whenever anybody says I voted for you, it means the world to me. It's like, you cared enough to put that in for me, like when you could have done it for somebody else, and that's super valuable. There's doesn't make that unvaluable. But I firmly believe that at the end of the day, the producers are in control.
Exactly. So you finished out on you finished fourth on this show, and then now the top 10 go out on tour. So talk a little bit about the tour after the fact. Then you went out on, how long did that tour last on that one? I went to one of those, and because I took my parents hadn't been to a concert since like 1968, and I took them to one of these concerts. It was actually one that I can't even remember what season it was. It was one earlier. I can't remember the guy who won. But anyway,
Lee DeWise.
What's that?
Was it Lee DeWise? That was the season before us.
No, it was the guy who played left-handed, Les Paul. He was from St. Louis. You know what I'm talking about? God damn it.
A lefty. I don't know. David Cook.
David Cook. It was that whatever season that was. That was the one that came. That was the only one that came to our.
7.
Okay, that's the one that came to our town. I took my parents to that. So on this tour that you went on, how many shows or how many cities did you go through on that one?
Well, our season was actually a top 11, because on our top 10 night, when they announced everybody that would be going on tour and going through to the big performance rounds, they saved Casey Abrams.
That's right.
But I honestly believe that they wanted to mix it up for the sake of the show. So they said that Casey got eliminated. I don't believe he got eliminated. I believe that, he had always been one of the fan favorites, and he's still a fan favorite. He's super busy. He's one of the greatest people in the world. Right. And musically and spiritually. And so on our tour, we did 46 shows in the U.S., 1 in Canada, and 2 back-to-back sold-out shows at the Araneta Coliseum in the Philippines, in Manila.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So it was nuts. It was all arenas. all major arenas. Our first show was in where was our first show? First show was in Salt Lake City. We did most of the East Coast or West Coast first, and then moved it over the East Coast, and it was great. You know, it was definitely fun. Got a lot of really good memories of it, and a lot of stuff I don't even remember, and a lot of nights we hotboxed the back cabin of the bus, and tried to, you know, hide that we weren't smoking weed, but we totally were. And then at a certain point, they were like, "Yeah, you guys."
Hey, dude, I'm a rocker, you know.
Like, yeah, you're doing
it. We're gonna have some Bud Lights or whatever, and a little bit of, you know, a little smoke, whatever.
little Pabst Blue Ribbon.
There, PBRs. There you go. Whatever it takes. Wow. But
actually, I'll tell you a funny one. So Scotty McCreery, who won, he's of age now. He just got married, and they happily have a new puppy. And he's doing phenomenally, his success and his music and everything. But when he was, how old was he when he won? He was 16.
Yeah, 16 years young.
And so, you know, us of age guys, everybody else was of age on the bus. And I remember one time he asked me if I'd buy him a bag of Levi Garrett. I was like, "What the hell is Levi Garrett?" He's like, "Is
that a jeans?"
No, it's like
I know
tobacco.
It's like Red Man chewing tobacco. It's like in a big pouch.
Yeah, the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dadgum, me and the boys, we'll go down to the lake, play baseball, and have some Levi Garrett, and, you know, seeing you guys back there in the back of the bus, you know, drinking beers and chiefing, you know, tipping your ganja and doing what you're doing, man, I just feel left out.
Your funny weed."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Devil's cabbage. Yeah.
That's funny. That's some funny stuff.
That was probably
I
pretty
bought him a
interesting
bag, and yeah, I bet. I bought him a bag, and so he had it for the whole tour. He had it stashed in the ice box in the back, and he had two big. He's a big fan of Bojangles, and so he had two big gallon jugs of sweet iced tea, but one of them was sweet iced tea and the other one was full of spit. But they were the same color and they were right next to each other.
Oh, that is wrong.
That's nasty.
That's surprising. You know, I'm surprised they let so his parents went around. They let a minor on a bus with a bunch of hooligans.
Well, we were all pretty mellow. His mom was on the tour, but she was on the girls' bus. No girls were allowed on the boys' bus. No boys were allowed on the girls' bus. I think there were three or four buses. We had the guys' bus. We had the girls' bus. We had there were three. We had a crew and band bus. That was the party bus. That's where you could find all the
band guys.
You know, all the fixins. Yeah. I remember there was a guitar tech named Dino or something. Every city we'd go, he'd have like a garbage bag full of weed. Every city.
So how does that compare with touring with Quiet Riot now?
Big difference, man. Big difference.
But if you'd have toured with them back in the 80s, guess what?
Yeah, about the same. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
probably been a lot worse.
I've heard. Yeah.
That's awesome.
With the stuff I've heard of the past, it definitely was. But yeah, these days it's very mellow. You know, we're in, we're out. It's if there's any debauchery going on, I do it at home.
So talk about, how did you get hooked up with Quiet Riot? What was I know you had, and if you want to talk about the albums you had out, please do so. That's not actually, I'm sitting here. I bought the Memories of a Beautiful Disaster the day it came out, by the way, just so you know.
Hell yeah. Thank you. November 26th, 2011.
You can't see it because your Skype didn't work, but I am holding it up so people can see it. But yeah, I've had it since the day it came out, and it was cool. I voted for you too, by the way. I'm just now getting to that. But Some of the guys that didn't win, I think, are some of my favorite people on there. You and Chris Daughtry, a huge, just and it's great to see guys that are not cookie cutter pop stars winning it that are that are on there that did really well. So and I think both of you two got kicked off way before you should have. So it wasn't for lack of voting in this household, I can tell you that. So there you go.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so talk about the records that you did and then how you got to Quiet Riot.
Yeah. So right after Idol, I signed a record deal, 2-album deal with Wind Up Records out of New York, and they're done now. They've been done for a while. And put out my first record, Memories of a Beautiful Disaster, on November 21st, 2011. Funny thing, my daughter was born November 21st, 2014. It's just funny. And so I toured on that. I had Mick Mars play on it. He came into the studio and guested on it on a song that was written by one of my favorite bands that I had reached out to. They're called Hardcore Superstar from Sweden. And they sent me a song that was left off of one of their biggest albums, Dreaming in a Casket. And that song's called Outcast. And so I hit the road and did supporting shows with Evanescence and Buck Cherry and Drowning Pool and a lot of solo shows. And a particularly fun one was Steel Panther in Baltimore. And so I did that, and I was working on my second record. I came out to Nashville in 2012 and worked with James Michael, the lead singer and main songwriter and producer of 6 a.m. with Nikki Sixx. And I was out here for 3 months, and I'm in Nashville now. And I was out here for 3 months, and we wrote probably 30, 40 songs and took them to the record label, and they didn't like any of them, Meanwhile, we were at the studio calling the record label, and they were distant. They weren't giving any direction or giving any feedback on songs or nothing. So when I met back up with them, with Wind Up Records, they basically pitched to me like, hey, we want to turn you pop. And I said, well, why would you do that? My first album sold 40,000 copies in its first week. It debuted at number 8 on the rock charts. And why would you want to mess up what everybody expects of me and knows of me? And they said, well, we want to play off of that American Idol audience. And there was just, it was a difficult time trying to talk about that with them. And there was a big misunderstanding of all that. But I wasn't in a position really to turn down their offer. So we negotiated a good deal with that. And I actually wrote probably 70% of that record, which ended up being my second album, Celebrate, which is much more pop-based, pop-oriented. But I took it as a challenge, and I said, you know what, if I have to do this, I'm going to do my best with it and put my all into it and actually make it something that, I have other fans that aren't, that don't like Stand Up and Higher Than Heaven and those songs. I mean, they like them because it's me, but it's not their favorite because they're into a softer style. And so I took that for what it was, and I took the money because it was good. I do music for a living. That's it. I don't go and drive a UPS truck in my off time and work around that, not yet. And so we put that out in April, April 14th, 2014, or April 8th, I think, 2014. And it sold, I think, 5,000 copies in the first week. It still debuted high, which is good. I mean, the numbers are good for something, but and that's also 3 years difference in a declining music business as far as sales go. But the people that, there was some backlash on it of people that, got something that they weren't expecting. And when I had touted like hey, this is going to be heavier. This is going to be better. And then there was a big change in direction with it. So we did that. I went on tour. I did a 7-week acoustic bus tour in the polar vortex of 2014. And it was successful. You know, it was very successful. We were also sponsored by Casamigos Tequila, George Clooney's tequila company. So it was good, you know. And
it's always good.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was trying to rebrand myself and made a pitch to the label, and they didn't want to go for it. And so they shelved me. And luckily, my attorney was kick-ass and got me out of it, and got me out of my ties to Idol and 19 Entertainment, and then I was independent. And so I did a crowdfunding campaign, and raised a good amount of money. My fans are hugely supportive and still incredible and dedicated and loyal, and independently released. My wife and I, we started our own record label via LLC called Wildvine Records, and put out my third album, Riot on Sunset, which is a song that I wrote when I was 20 and had always wanted to put on a record. And every time I played it for the producers or the guys at the record label, they said, yeah, what if you changed it to Riot on Main Street? You know, maybe people would get it a little more. You know, it could be a little bit more everyman America. It's like, no, dude, you don't get it. Fuck off. So I stuck to that song, and I knew that one day I would title a record that, and so I did, and I stuck by it, and I started to really hone in on my self-penned songs, you know, 100% written songs, and which has led me to this past October. I put out a mostly acoustic album called Homeland, which most of the songs were, for as soft of a record as it is, most of the songs were written on the road with Quiet Riot. And I just kind of got into a sort of a less folksy Neil Young, John Mellencamp, California country Eagles sort of a vibe, Bryan Adams kind of a thing, and wrote this album. And I wrote every single song on it.
Cool.
I only jobbed out a couple instruments to some friends that are competent at violin and piano, and one of my best friends from my first band, Leviathan, on drums on one song. And other than that, I played all guitars, all bass, all the solos,
cool.
and really forced myself to do my, the fucking best that I could. And I produced it myself, and I engineered it myself, and I really knuckled down, and I, as far as branding myself and making myself seem, important in a way, as far as the music I'm making. And so I got a guitar endorsement with Recording King and The Lore, and I got a microphone endorsement with Lewitt Audio and Artesia and Virgin Musical Instruments. And I started working with these different companies to get the tools, the physical tools that I needed in order to make my album. And once again, did a crowdfunding campaign, and I learned how to use Photoshop, and my wife took did all the photography. And we really branded it. We packaged it in a way that looked like something that could compete with, music similar to it, and made it a very quality product.
Right.
And we continue to do that. And that's what I just got done doing last week, and I'm still adding more shows to that. And so it's something that I still really enjoy doing, is making my own music, and making music that's just defined by however I'm feeling. My next album might be a metal album, or it might be a Hall & Oates tribute record or something.
Nothing wrong with that either, though. Nothing wrong with that.
Hell no, exactly. I just want to make music that makes me feel good, and whatever's making me feel good at the time is what it's going to be. And if that's, if it's a traditional country album, or a honky tonk record, or a, an R&B thing, or a blues thing, or whatever, it's just kind of where I'm at, and I just want to create music and not be grouped or defined by one characteristic and pigeonholed, So after I did my Riot on Sunset album in 2016, I was touring on it, and my tour got interrupted. I got an offer to be in a Las Vegas, some Vegas show, which was called One Epic Night, which actually ended up to be basically one epic night failure. And but while I was out in Vegas, I connected with Alex Grassi, and Alex is the lead guitarist in Quiet Riot and has been for the past 15 years to this point. And before playing with Quiet Riot, he played with Kevin DeBro. Kevin picked him when he was touring with the Bad Boys of Metal tour, and he's been with the band ever since. And so he was married to my attorney and had since, split up and whatever and moved to Vegas. And so we connected. He came out to the show, and after our One Epic Night premiere show, there was an after party, and we got on stage together and played Sweet Child of Mine. And that video made its way out, and I guess Frankie saw it at that point, and they had already picked somebody. Rewind a little bit. I had just signed on to be a part of the Vegas show, and I get a call from Frankie Benali, and he's interested in having me be the singer of Quiet Riot. And I was like, damn it, that's awesome. That's so cool. I just signed on to do this Vegas thing for a couple weeks, and it'd be great if we can make it work, make both things work. And he said that wouldn't work, actually. So that didn't work out, and they ended up going with somebody else. He ended up lasting, a couple months. And so by the time the Vegas thing was over, Alex and I stayed in touch. We started writing songs together over email. He'd send me instrumentals, and I'd send them back with lyrics and melodies, and recorded. And we started a project called Hollywood Scars. I resurrected an idea from my childhood in Santa Cruz, and repackaged it with Alex as a songwriting team. And so we put out an EP. And at the time that we're in the studio recording that in Vegas at Desert Moon Studios, which is owned by Count Danny Coker from Counting Cars.
Yeah, run into him actually through
Tommy Paris.
Tommy Paris. There you go.
All right. Hell yeah. Yeah, so we were out there, and Frankie happened to email me a song randomly out of nowhere. I wasn't in contact with Frankie, and he just said, this is a song that we didn't use on the Quiet Riot album that we're, currently wrapping up. Maybe you could use it for whatever you're doing with you and Alex. And so he sent it, and I was like, hey, Al, Frankie sent me this song. Wouldn't it be funny if I wrote it and, you play a lead on it and we send it back to him, before he even gets home tonight? And that we did. And that song actually was probably my audition for the band, because about a month later, I get a call from Alex, and he says, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm sitting on my porch, eating soup, drinking a beer, yelling at my neighbor's kids. What do you want? And he said, well, it looks like you're going to be the new singer of Quiet Riot. And I was like,
awesome.
Is the set list still the same? Because he had given me the set list like 3 weeks before, and I learned it at that point, and sure enough, it was. So I went down to LA, and we rehearsed the set, I think 3 times before my first show a week later. And the song that we wrote in the studio ended up being Can't Get Enough, which was the first Quiet Riot music video in 29 years.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's been that long.
Sorry, a little long-winded.
No, that's okay.
So are you living in Nashville now, though? Is that where you're based out of?
Yeah, I'm currently in Nashville. Yeah.
Nashville. Because like I said, the whole reason this came about was, we have our friends down in Nashville that we've had on the show and we converse with and just love those dudes. And then we saw that you were down there at the Mercy Lounge for Asbrock singing your ass off, doing some Priest, and I was like going,
yes.
I told ET, I was like, God damn, I said, that was fucking awesome, number one. And
Thank you.
I gotta get your boy on the show. And he's like, well, just give him a holler. So I was like, that's what I did. And
perfect, yeah.
But no, like I said, it's so how long have you been in Nashville, man? I mean, how long have you been?
We've been here about a year.
Year, okay. That's
a
awesome.
year.
It's becoming a mecca of musicians and people. I mean,
For better or worse, yeah.
Yeah, it has. It has. Yeah.
Not sure which.
Yeah, I know. It's become for us to just come down and be in Nashville. It's become too crowded to me.
Well, but there's a ton of rock guys that live down there.
I understand that. Growing up in Santa Cruz is like it's with the Silicon Valley moving in and all those folks moving in and hiking up the rent prices and the homeowner prices and all that stuff is like it's intense. There goes my quiet beach mountainous hometown there. It makes it tough to be there. And then move out here, and then Nashville's facing its own craziness, and you got to deal with the weather, and you got to deal with the traffic. And
we live 2 hours north of you. You want to see some good weather? Come to Southern Indiana. It's actually worse than Nashville.
Oh no, I believe you. I was just there.
It is worse. I mean, we go from like. We're snowing in the morning. We had a tornado in the afternoon, and then it's hot and it's cold in the morning.
Right now, we're actually experiencing freezing rain as we're recording this.
I heard something on my roof outside. I'm in my upstairs room, and I kept. Is it seriously freezing rain?
Yes, it is.
No, it's reindeer. It was reindeer.
Bitch. Damn it.
They're early.
Well, reindeer or ice, it doesn't matter. It both sucks. We don't need that shit right now. God damn it. Anyway.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to get you off of your thing. So how many more shows is Quiet Riot? Is it touring heavy right now, or are you doing more your acoustic shows?
We're kind of we're not touring a bunch right at the moment. We've got one in March. I think March 15th in Daytona Beach, Florida. Looking forward to that one. Hello weather.
Yeah.
We're playing Daytona Bike Week, so a big motorcycle festival down there. And the bike festivals are always nuts. It's definitely fun, being the singer of Quiet Riot and standing where Kevin stood and cemented his place and his legacy. It's definitely challenging, and not just singing the songs. The songs are hard to sing, but I've got muscle memory with them. I've just started my third year, and so I think we've only done actually one show this year, and we just put out a live album, One Night in Milan, which we recorded last February in Milan, Italy, at the Frontiers Music Festival. Frontiers is the record label that Quiet Riot signed to. Or was, I don't know if they still are, but so I love every minute on stage.
That's great.
I'll just say that. I love every minute on stage. I love every minute on stage with Frankie, Chuck, and Alex. That's the part that I travel for. That's the whole reason of having to leave the first fucking flight the day before and come home the first flight the day after. And it's like that's the travel is what I get paid for. I don't get paid to be on stage. Everybody thinks you get paid to be on stage. It's really just like that's the fun part. If you love doing that, then how could you ever get accept payment for that? It's the other 37 hours that you get paid for.
Exactly. Well, I tell you what, James. Here, one last question, and I don't really know how to put this. If you could go back and change anything in time, would you change not going through Idol, or would you have kept that as is because it got you to where you were, or what I'm trying to get to, was it worth going through Idol for this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely was. I mean, I remember after I had done my audition, somebody else had come in and purchased that Domino's business, and they called and asked me if I wanted my job back, and
no.
I politely declined. I said, call me back in 6 months. Let's we'll see.
Right.
life is all about just it's learning from your choices and learning from your decisions, and the fact that you never can go back. You never can go back in time and change anything. And so you get to a certain point where, like, even asking yourself that question, it's just like, it's just pointless, and I appreciate the thought you put into it. Thank you. But,
the thing is, there's other people that have been through Idol that now go back and go, I wish I'd never done that. They've got all kinds of bad, had bad experiences through it. But
yeah,
I guess,
I mean, there's
then again, they probably
ways,
didn't.
yeah.
It is
if
what it is.
I focused on all the bad, there definitely was a lot of negative, and there definitely was, but it's like, are you going to focus on the negative aspects of things? And I don't have cable. I don't watch the news. I don't type in, what's going on CNN, what's going on Fox, what's going on Trump, what's going on World. It's like, I don't even tap into that shit because I don't have a say in what happens or what doesn't happen. So regardless, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And me, yelling about it to somebody on Facebook is not gonna make one bit of fucking difference.
That's a great philosophy.
It's just
a lot of people should take that.
Poison. Exactly. It's just, thinking if I can go back and change something. It's like, if we had the ability to do that, I wouldn't. It'd be fun to go back and be an observer and observe, okay, what were the reasons why I made that decision? Why did I say that? What were the choices behind that? If I could go back and observe that, maybe that'd be a different case scenario. Watch Back to the Future again. You look back and Marty goes to the future and buys a fucking almanac, and then
Marty
takes it to the past.
Marty fucks shit up.
And Biff finds exactly. Biff finds it, and he gets in the time machine, and Marty doesn't live in the dock, and then he goes back to the past, gives it to young Biff, and fucks everything up. And then Donald Trump's president. It's like, exactly. It's like you go back to you take the almanac back to 85, ruin everything. Exactly. And so, yeah, it's like you just gotta take one day at a time. You gotta take one experience at a time, one mistake at a time. Because I'm a firm believer that if there's something that you honestly believe is meant to happen for you, if there's a dream that you have, like this music thing, it keeps changing. The dream keeps changing. The idea that keeps changing, and the opportunities keep coming back around. If I signed up for a mistake. I signed up for the mistake in Vegas, and then I got called to be a part of Quiet Riot, and I couldn't do it. The dream of fronting a band like that was a dream since I was 16 years old, 15. And that opportunity came around, and I signed on for something else that I thought was the ticket. And that turned out to be poisonous and a big mistake. But by being out in Vegas, I met Alex, and Alex is one of my best friends. And, through becoming friends with him and that work relationship, that made me that opened up the door again. That made it possible for me to join QR again. That brought
everything
that
has a purpose
back around.
Everything
exactly.
has a purpose.
Everything's got a purpose. So it's like, you're going to spend your life focusing on your purpose and the things you can change and accepting the things you can't and just, living for the moment? Or are you going to, are you going to just, poison your day and poison your life and stress about shit you can't do nothing about? It's just like,
So where can we find you at? On your medias and where you need to promote, and where do we need to find you at?
Well, you don't need to, but if you so choose, if you so choose, if you're
no, you need to find
on the
James.
devil's lettuce, and you got an inkling. You can find me at jamesdurbinofficial.com. You can find me at facebook.com/DurbinRock. Anywhere, basically, Twitter, Facebook, if there's a little blue circle with a little white check mark in it, that's me. I'm also James Durbin Official on Instagram. And yeah. And my latest album is called Homeland. And the latest Quiet Riot record and live album and DVD and Blu-ray is called One Night in Milan.
Awesome. That is cool.
Come see us.
We will definitely do it.
Well, if we'd have known you were in our state, we would have.
Yeah, no shit. We would have came to
do this interview early enough.
You should have said, "Hey, I can't do the interview this week because I'm going to be in Indiana." And then I'm like, okay, well, we could have did it with you.
Exactly. Thank you for taking the
time
time to be on with us, man.
Yeah.
We really
hang on for just a second, though, too. We want to talk to you a little bit afterwards, real quick. Alan, you want to take us out real quick?
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for joining us for another episode. Check us out on agesofrock.com. Catch all of our social media there. Find us on Stitcher Radio. Catch our rebroadcasts on damn it, Dennis, stop making those faces. 105theglobe.com. Till next week, peace out, folks. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.